I've already seen multiple videos about Phonak software update, but only one video regarding the new Omega, and the bias is evident. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dr. Cliff AUD vlog. This is vlog number 294, and today I'm responding to another comment online about the apparent bias of influencers that are creating content on certain hearing aid brands. But before I get into this video, guys, do me a huge favor, click the like button, really helps out the channel. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well. It's greatly appreciated. So at this point, you're probably aware that I spend a considerable amount of time on social media answering questions from different consumers who have hearing loss. Part of this is hanging out in different Facebook forums and waiting for people to ask different questions or make different statements that I feel like I should be responding to. Well, we had a really good one here just the other day, so let me go ahead and read it for you here real quick. It starts off by saying, serious question for healthcare professionals in this group. Why does Starkey not get the respect they deserve as hearing aids? While I realize Phonak is the largest, that doesn't necessarily make them the best. Starkey is an industry leader with technology and forward thinking, but seem to be somewhat disregarded in comparison. I've already seen multiple videos about Phonak software update, but only one video regarding the new Omega, and the bias is evident. Audiologists and hearing professionals, your opinion is especially welcome. Well, considering I'm the biggest influencer in the world when it comes to the hearing aid space, I figured that I better respond to this particular question. And I'll start off by saying that this individual is spot on correct. There are definitely biases that exist out there in the world of content creation, and there's several reasons for it. The first one is familiarity with a product. Now, you can always tell when someone's making a video on a particular product and they really have no idea what they're talking about because they don't actually work in a clinic and use those devices to treat patients. But all of the best influencers out there in the world of hearing aids actually work in a clinic, and they're using these devices on their patients day in and day out. And certain hearing aid brands are used more frequently by these influencers, and other brands are used less frequently. First of all, it's much easier to make content on products that you are very familiar with because you work with them on a regular basis. It is a lot more difficult to make yourself familiar with certain products that you don't use a whole lot of because you really can't speak from authority on those products. I'll say personally that this is the biggest challenge that I have inside of my clinic. I work with all of the major manufacturers, but there are several manufacturers that I work with a lot. And so if you said, hey Cliff, can you make a review video of this particular product, of something I'm familiar with, I'll have that product review knocked out in no time. But if it's a different product, it's still a good product, but I don't know all of the unique ins and outs of it, it's going to take me a lot longer to make sure I get used to that product enough where I know what I'm talking about. The second factor is belief in a particular product. So it's not to say that certain products are not good, but if I don't believe in that product, or I don't believe in that product as much as another product, I'm not going to make as much content about that product. Now, I'll share a little story here with you guys, but back when I first started the YouTube channel, I made videos about everything. Prescription hearing aids, over-the-counter hearing aids, just generic amplifiers, hearing protection, whatever it was, I would just make a video on it. However, there were certain products that were absolute garbage that I talked about on my channel, and I actually received a phone call from an angry channel viewer because, remember, I actually run a clinic, so it's not hard to get a hold of me, but this individual called my clinic and started cursing at me because I said to buy a particular product, and then when they bought that product, they ended up not being able to get a refund of that product, and they thought that I was the one selling it to them. And I was like, I told you actually in the video that the product was garbage, and you decided to buy it anyway, and now that you're upset that you got ripped off by an online retailer. Now, when it comes to quality hearing aids like Phonak and Starkey, there's a lot of belief that goes behind those products, but depending on the influencer that's creating content about those products, if they don't believe in one of them, they're not going to create as much content about it. The third factor here is the popularity of a product. Now, when you just look at it from global market share perspective, Sonova, i.e. Phonak, has around 31% of total market share globally as of 2019. Starkey was around 4% of global market share. Now, maybe that has changed a little bit over the course of the past 6 years, but generally speaking, you have Sonova, the company that manufactures Phonak products, they have a much larger percentage of the market share, which means more people are interested in their particular product. Whether their product is actually better than a Starkey product in this particular case is irrelevant because you have a lot of people requesting content about these certain manufacturers and much less requests for other manufacturers. And at the end of the day, as a content creator, we have to give the people what they want. If there is a high demand talking about a particular product, we are generally going to go in that direction of giving the viewers what they want. And if you have very few people inquiring about other brands or other products, we're not going to make as much content around it. The fourth factor is a critical one, and it's the communication that we get from a manufacturer before a particular product release. So this stands true for all of the hearing aid manufacturers. None of the hearing aid manufacturers give us enough lead time to review their products before they announce the release of those products. So if they give us a little bit more lead time and we have time to actually review those hearing aids before their release date, we can get the content created and have it ready to go immediately when they announce the release, which means that you go to YouTube, you search for that particular hearing aid, and you actually get content about it. If the manufacturer does not give us enough lead time, we're basically either relegated to just regurgitating the marketing talking points from the manufacturer, which I absolutely hate to do. Those are absolutely the worst videos to create because you're basically giving no actual user insight, or you end up having to delay the review so you can actually get the product in hand, do a full detailed review on it, and then put out that video, but it just comes out several weeks later because this stuff does not happen overnight. And the fifth factor that will determine which hearing aid manufacturers get more content created is sponsorships. So let me speak to the sponsorship aspect of this here a bit, and I probably have more experience on this whole sponsorship thing than anyone else in the hearing care space. But I've had a sponsorship from Phonak for probably, 5 or 6 years at this point, maybe more actually, maybe 6 or 7 years at this point. And I've had a sponsorship from Starkey for maybe 1 year at this point. So when you start looking at the amount of content on my channel surrounding Phonak, you're gonna get a lot more content about them than what you are Starkey. Now, yes, I do make a ton of content about all of these different hearing aid manufacturers, regardless of the sponsorship, but when you have a manufacturer who's working very closely with you on a sponsorship basis, they tend to get you more information quicker than other manufacturers who do not work with you regularly. Now, just to be clear here, I absolutely love Phonak hearing aids, and I absolutely love Starkey hearing aids. I work with both of them regularly inside of my clinic, and both of these manufacturers release something new within like a week of each other, which makes it very difficult to churn out the content. So you basically have to prioritize which features or devices can you review in an expedient manner and get it out there to market in the highest quality possible. It just so happens that Oticon also released something new right inside of that window as well, and I was actually out of the country doing coverage on that new Zeal hearing aid. So this leads us to the sixth factor, which is there's only so much content that any content creator can create, especially when different manufacturers release something new at the exact same time. So to answer this question simply, there is absolutely bias when it comes to content creation around different hearing aid manufacturer products, just like there's bias with everything in the entire world. But I would ask you to look past this bias because you really shouldn't be focusing too much attention on the hearing devices themselves anyway. Yes, they are important, and yes, you want to make sure that you get the right hearing aid for you. But the thing that's 10 times more important than that is the hearing care professional that you go to get that particular product. After all, you could purchase a Phonak hearing aid and have that hearing aid work like complete garbage if it's not set up the right way. On the other hand, you could get a Starkey hearing aid and have that hearing aid function like complete garbage if you don't have it set up the right way. So why are we spending so much time thinking about what the best hearing aid is and trying to compare this one with that one and all of that when you should really just be going to find an excellent hearing care professional who can optimize the performance of whatever hearing aid they think is best for you? And if you need some help finding an excellent hearing care professional, head over to my website, HearingUp.com, and look for a HearingUp Network member in your area. HearingUp members have been vetted and are committed to following comprehensive audiologic best practices when fitting and programming either your Phonak hearing aids, your Starkey hearing aids, your Oticon hearing aids, your Widex hearing aids, your Signia hearing aids, or whatever other hearing aids they dispense. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think there's a ton of bias when it comes to creating content about hearing aid manufacturers and their products, or do you just think that content creators like myself are doing the best that we possibly can with what we have to work with? Let me know down in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.